Hello everyone, it is currently Saturday the 29th of March and we have some absolutely wild weather coming up. I thought I would do a quick weather briefing. It's not going to really be about Sunday. I'm not too concerned about Sunday. We may do some quick updates on that, but what we're really going to be focusing on this time is Wednesday through probably next Sunday, to be honest. But Wednesday right now is the primary severe threat. So, with that said, let's get into it. So, the first thing we're going to look at is just some overall models for Wednesday, starting off with the ever reliable, or not so much, Supercell composite. So, fast forwarding to that right there, you see, this is Sunday. We still could see something pop up, but it's not that strong of a signal, which not all that surprised. However, we have a brief period of calm. And then this absolute monstrosity starts coming in from the side. This is unusually high. This is very similar to what we saw with the 314 and 315 outbreak earlier this year. If we click on here and bring up the CUT in the hodograph, we will see we have an absolutely massive amount of CAPE for this area and a very scary looking hodograph. Possible hazard type is PDS Tor, can't always rely on that, but we do have a number of analogs, 110 for significant hail and 35 for tornado, which is kind of expected. 3 CAPE is 75, which is not incredibly high, but that alone is pretty much the only thing that's not worrying. We have over 7 lapse rates pretty much across the board, which is very, very helpful for Supercell development. SRH with effective inflow of 395, 3 kilometer SRH is 478, and 1 kilometer is 260. Those are all very, very favorable for tornadic supercells. Now, if we look at another parameter, let's look at surface-based CAPE for that day, which is generally our primarily limiting factor for most of these systems. And we jump up to Wednesday here, and we are looking at anywhere from the range of 3,800 to about 3,000, depending on where you're looking. Now, it's going to matter that this converges with moisture and shear properly. As of now, it's looking like it will, which yet again is worrying. And if we look in these areas of high CAPE, this is just surface-based. Total CAPE is over 4,600, which is unbelievable, to be honest, for this time of year. Although we are in spring, it's just been a while since we had a system like this. But it's still concerning. Now, let's go and take a look at our surface data that is simulated. We're going to be looking at some really shockingly high dew points, up into the 70s, believe it or not, in this area. So we're going to want to watch this entire area here. West Tennessee, Arkansas, Mississippi, as always, Louisiana as well, and all the way up to the Great Lakes, believe it or not, will likely have a severe threat. We can also see we have some favorable shear vectors here. We have pretty much a decent angle right at the convergence here, which is going to indicate that we have positive shear for tornadoes, supercells, and we may even avoid going with a massive QLCS line initially like we usually do. Temperatures that day are simulated to also be extremely warm. We are looking anywhere in the 79 to 80s, which is pretty high for early spring. Peak, we could be getting up into the 90s for most of the deep south, with those 90s and 80s reaching all the way up through the Mississippi Delta, all the way up to the Four Corners up here near Tennessee, Arkansas, Missouri, etc., etc. So for confirmation, let's take a look at the Euro model and do a quick simulated run of what reflectivity for that day may look like. This is very, very general, very broad, and subject to change, as all things are with models. So we're looking at right around 0Z on Thursday morning or midnight. Well, not midnight, probably about 6 p.m. if I'm remembering the time change correctly on Wednesday. We are looking at a line of severe storms popping up and moving eastwards over the Ohio Valley and Mississippi River Valley. Now, here's the weird part. It doesn't go anywhere. It just stays there. It moves in. We have our severe weather, and then it just stays. And over the next several days, we are looking at repeated potential severe outbreaks, heavy flooding rain, and it continues all the way until Monday. Now, it is showing that we may get some more rain after that and some severe weather, but at this point, that's a little far out to trust. We're getting into the 200-hour range, so at this point, I would say we're getting severe storms likely through Sunday. Now, again, disclaimer, this is all very, very subject to change. It is very far out meteorologically, so this is going to require a lot of watching. However, this is not just speculation. The National Weather Service has in fact issued a day 5 30% risk for this area. While this is not unheard of, it only tends to happen when we have very high confidence. This is a key point here. High confidence versus high severity. High severity, you only really get to know that within the first 2 or 3 days. However, we have something a little bit unique in this forecast discussion. Day 5 Wednesday, widespread, potentially substantial severe outbreak remains apparent. Now, we're going to finish off this paragraph with large hail, damaging winds, and strong tornadoes all possible during the afternoon and evening hours. This is fairly rare wording from the Storm Prediction Center. They don't like to go out on a limb and say that we're going to have strong tornadoes or high-end severe weather, but they are here. So we can start to take this 30% risk as not only a high confidence, but a high severity risk as well. We'll need to watch it. As it gets to day 3, we'll start getting some more specific details. Now, this is something that's interesting to me. We're going to bring up the CSU AI model for this day. This is what we're looking at with the AI model. And this is honestly about as worrying as getting a day 5 30% from the Storm Prediction Center. The last time we got something that looked like this was the 315 outbreak, which was a very high-end outbreak. We had multiple EF3s, very strong tornadoes, a couple EF4s if I remember correctly, and it looked exactly like this, just further south. So it's not likely we're going to see an outbreak of that intensity, but there's also a possibility that we could. The ingredients are there, the possibilities are there. The AI and the Storm Prediction Center are agreeing on that. We are going to have to watch it closely though, because again, this is very far out. This is very subject to change. It's likely we'll see some downtrends, especially as we get into range of high resolution models. Those tend to show a overall lower instability, etc., etc. But the first thing we will know is about 3 days out, the NAM will come into range, and we'll start getting an idea for our environment. Once we get within 48 hours or 60 hours, the NAM 3K and the HRRR will be also in range. So we will probably know just about how bad this is going to be by late Monday, I would guess. So, taking all that into account, Wednesday is probably going to be pretty high end. Like, there's no way to sugarcoat it. We have, let's take a look at the analogs, for example. As of now, this far out, analogs are showing a 52% in a couple of spots of seeing any severe report of a tornado, which is very high for this far out. The top analogs for this, 2016, 1998, 2022, etc. This one right here is particularly interesting to me. My major chase that I had back in 2023 was this one in particular. This was the Wynn, Arkansas tornado that killed 8 people, along with the Little Rock tornado, and a couple of other noteworthy tornadoes that went through West Tennessee and Northeast Arkansas. That is likely what we're seeing here with these concentration of probabilities for tornadoes. Now, if we go and bump it up and we look at the significant tornado possibility, it's there. It's on the board. That is honestly a very, very high probability based off of analogs. Long track tornado is pretty much in the same boat. Got more of a concentration over northwest Alabama and northeast Mississippi, but Arkansas is still very much in the sights for this. Now, if we go even more extreme and look at 5 significant tornadoes, it's there. It's very, very low probability, but it is there. So this is something we're going to have to watch very closely as we get closer in. I do think this is probably going to be in the realm of 314. I don't want to say it's going to be as bad, but again, the possibility is there. That's pretty much what we're looking for. We are going to see tornadoes that day. I think it is pretty much a given at this point. We are in spring. We are in active season. We can't say that there aren't going to be tornadoes. So, again, take this all with a grain of salt. We are far out. We are with pretty long-range models that are not very specific, but they are setting up a very scary environment. So, I'll keep posting on Instagram. I will be posting on primarily Twitter. Instagram kind of makes me mad sometimes because it's a difficult place to post. So keep tabs with that. I will post more videos as I can, and will likely, if I can, be covering this severe outbreak as well. So stay tuned.